you need to change according to the industry. Manual tester perspective, something that role is actually slowly getting valid out, right? You cannot completely rely on AI. It'll take its own path, and you'll reach some other aspects of it.
Software testing was a glamour role till AI comes into picture. Now the test engineers are afraid that their job will be taken over by AI. What will actually happen to this role in future? TestHouse is an organization which is focusing on test as a service. Today we have with us Mr. Arun Bhargav, who is the director of TestHouse. Let's welcome him and understand from him what will happen to test as a service. Welcome, Arun. With AI now capable of generating and executing test cases, is traditional software testing still relevant?
Okay, see, if you really look at the way that software industry has changed, right? So the testing as an activity is also getting changed along with the STS life cycle. So definitely the activities are getting changed, but the software quality life cycle is required, especially when AI creates software, right? So it writes code. So we need to definitely ensure that it's coming with the right quality, it's deployable. So that will continue, but in a different form. Of course, the way that the STS life cycle changes, so the way how it actually goes in, it based on that, it'll definitely make some differences. But from a process point of view, from a quality assurance point of view, it still continues in a different part. And when you say the way the tester, right? So the manual tester as it is, I think that is being changed over the years. Here, mostly talking about test dates in nowadays, right? It's not a manual tester who does some activities and write the results. It's actually a software developer engineer in testing who creates testing software to validate whether the quality is up to the mark. So that change is already there. Now AI comes in, it keeps on evolving towards the AI-enabled software development in testing service.
So in simple language, the manual testing is already moving towards or already moved towards automation.
Yes.
And
Do you think call it as automation per se? Right? So it is fundamentally you have a testing software generated in parallel. You call it as automation, you call it as a quality assurance with service, right? So you have a software which is testing another software that is yours. Now AI comes in. If you really look at even the LLM solutions which is getting evolved, you have a validator agent which is actually validating your LLM services there, right? So that is a future.
so do you see AI as a replacement for test engineers, or it's more of a kind of a co-pilot for them?
I'll probably take the development side of it first, right? AI is capable of writing codes now. So we have wide platforms which creates software as it is, which can be functional. It's not about a code snippet. It's actually a software which actually comes in and it works. Now the problem is it cannot be deployed. Right? So it's not a deployable code. It has to go through the quality life cycle. So that part definitely needs a human intervention who somebody has to evaluate it, somebody has to convert that into a deployable code. So that's the developer part of it. Now, what happens is a coder who writes the code has been replaced by an AI agent, where you have a developer who uses the AI agent to create the code. That is how the systems change. Similarly, for the quality perspective, you have a quality engineer who defines the quality rules of a software. At the same time, there's an AI agent which actually creates the software which can validate. That is how it changes.
So from your words, what I understood is like the major difference is in the knowledge of how to define the scenarios.
Yes. So I'll probably make a correction on that. The knowledge as it is also changing. Now you don't need to earlier, maybe a decade back or something, you need to understand the technology. That is a requirement. Now the technology is in an agent. So maybe I usually do with a few agents in myself, which I can do a conversation with them, and it provides me details of different technologies there, right? So if a new technology comes in, I don't need to really go and read and understand things. I can make conversations. Now that knowledge is not required. At the same time, your skill in terms of or competency in terms of defining the quality aspects is required. Then the AI agent will aid that so that you will be able to create much more productive output with a less number of people. So the talent is getting important.
Where do you believe AI-driven testing is still fall behind? Especially, I heard that in some critical devices like TV or some controlled network, AI-based testing is still not very proper. What is your view on this?
See, that's a, of course, there's a, what you call, if imaginary fear that we typically have when we work on the CGI aspects of it, right? So the general intelligence, where it can overtake human at all. But I don't see it's in the near future. Definitely, we don't have any proof that it can actually overtake human as it is. But definitely, it can do a lot of uh, manual work that human does, or time consuming repeated work that human does, which can be done very smartly. So you don't need to spend too much time on that. At the same time, AI has a problem that inherently it hallucinates a lot, right? So you cannot completely rely on AI. It'll take its own path, and you'll reach some other aspects of it, and it probably redo things, right? So those aspects anyway need to be worked out by AI. The second part is the security compliance aspect. So when I talk about the deployability piece of it, right, the compliances and the deployability, the security elements of it, the deployment architecture part of it, AI still need to be matured enough to handle those aspects. So until that, definitely there is a manual intervention required for creating the software to convert that into a deployable product. We typically had a front-end developer and a back-end developer, which and a database engineer to be replaced with a full-stack engineer, right? So now we are talking about mostly full-stack engineer. Now that is getting replaced with an AI engineer, AI-aided development engineer became okay, who understand the design aspects of it and develop the code. Now, when it comes to testing, and it the AI will do the activities, but there should be somebody who need to ensure that the AI is being guided properly at this current aspects. Unless the as I said, the CGI comes in and then replace the human intelligence, then it has to handle the instructions given by a human part. Of course, it can gain knowledge from the past aspects of it, but any new impact analysis has to be done by a human, and then direct AI to do aspects of it, right? So that part would be done by a human. So that will be the future of it. Now, when I say the way I forecast the future is where you will have a set of quality engineers, right? Not like tester or an automation engineer or anything in that. So you have a quality engineer define the quality aspects of a product, and the rest will be handled by the implementation will be done by an AI agent. Well, that is the future that I see.
If AI achieves a near perfect automation, do you think the definition of testing itself will change in near future?
So when I joined this house and looked at the overall market across the globe, you see a multiple maturity markets, right? So there are sort of, if you look at from the typical industry who is matured enough to have technology advancements comes in, for example, be it on a media side or a retail industry, the challenges would be how you effectively use these AI technologies for the purpose of development, right? So that is where the challenges comes in, because you probably your SDLC lifecycle has completely changed. You have a prototype using vibe coding, then you convert that into a deployable code, right? Using AI itself. You have a lot of AI agents comes in your SDLC lifecycle, evaluating the review process or deployment automation. Everything comes through AI. So that requires a very clear definition of quality, right from the requirement till the deployment. Uh, what are the completeness of the requirements there? Because the AI has a problem when you give the complete instruction, it'll hallucinate by itself and create something which is not up to the expectation of a product owner. So that till that from that definition, it has to go through the right quality checks, and then it has to deploy that, and the deployment observability aspects, the security aspects need to be validated. So there should be certain elements goes in on the quality engineering aspects of those industries. Now, when it comes to, let's say, BFSI industry, for example, right? So, which is not as matured as the other industry because of obviously you have compliance requirements there, you have security requirements there. So, that industry is a different beast altogether. It requires a adaptation by itself, right? So, their challenge is how you have a secured a in the ecosystem to be created, how the LLMs should be private enough to handle that, how the security uh, compliances need to be handled with libraries which we use, because you cannot simply go the like lovable users the standard React libraries which cannot be used in a BFS environment because a lot of security loopholes are there, right? So how you do that? So that requires a very defined AI enablement itself.
Okay.
So that is a long shot because we need to get into the basic automations, SDLC lifecycle, aligning to the AI itself coming in. The agility of the software development itself need to be changed. So those aspects definitely that requires a long path to get it.
Testing as such is evolving. What are the innovations happening in the testing industry now?
Okay, so when you look at the testing industry, the major change application of AI is basically on the test case creation part, the automation, especially on the automation part. There are MCP servers comes in, then AI agents getting almost all the tools in the industry is adapting AI for creating and maintaining the test case, test scripts, low code automations, and self-heat. So that is becomes a norm. Uh, uh, but however, test house, with our experience, what we have done is we started from the beginning. For all these things to get right results, you need requirements to be right, created properly.
Hmm.
So the first AI product, innovation products on AI from Test House is focusing on that, which is called Tumba. It's a SaaS platform which can look at the requirements, be it a Figma design or a Jira user stories, can look at the completeness of it, ensure that the requirement coverage is proper and the acceptance criteria being written properly. So that is the basis of quality. And from there, now the second product that we have got is to convert that into automation scripts, just like the other software. But now we focus mostly on the correctness of the quality aspects. It's not about completing the test cases. We'll ensure that we are getting the right result of it, right? So it takes the input, it defines the acceptance criteria properly, and based on that, it can adapt. So we are not talking about executing automation scripts in our platform. Instead, we generate automation scripts which can be executed in any platform. Okay, literally any platform. So it started with of course, the low-hanging fruits are Playwright or Selenium, those open technologies what we are focusing on. Of course, we are working to see if can be integrated with other tools as partners. However, the primary objective is whether it can validate the features as per the requirements, which obviously can be validated with Tumba. So it is getting integrated also. So this will cover their life cycle of it, right? Uh, at the same time, we are also looking for the other tools which can aid the process. For example, report generation. So we have created a SaaS platform which is called the Soundry for transcription reporting generations for customers. It's a B2C platform. We be also working on certain R&Ds on other tools on those aspects. And as I mentioned earlier, right, the industry is like BFSI, which requires a private LLM. And with the knowledge that test house has acquired over time, we are also working on some private LLM research. So how we can enable this kind of a our own AI agents, which can provide the capabilities that we brought in.
The current test engineers, both manual as well as automation, what are the preparations they should do to catch up with the current situation or to meet the future requirements?
See, fundamentally, you need to change according to the industry, right? So technology is changing. You need to understand the basics of technology, how to use these new technologies there, how to smartly work. As I said, it is not knowledge, it's mostly skills. So we focus on skills, whether they will be able to acquire the skills, apply that, and create the uh, benefits out of that. So that is what the focus is. So be it testers or any organization nowadays, I think the focus is mostly on the technology, the skill development part of it, right? So how to smartly utilize these technology for the benefits of product development, and then apply that. Manual tester perspective, that something that role is actually slowly getting vanished out, right? So it's getting vanished. So you need to convert yourself into a software developer in testing. So and it's that part. And now with that, you also need to understand what is happening in the AI. So how to apply the AI engines or the new technology aspects of it. Get familiar with that and start using it. Now, with the new technology, you don't need to know the languages right now. You can use any of this technology to create code. But what need to be created is up to you. So that skill, you need to acquire that. So the concepts, let's say the software quality lifecycle concept is still there. How to do an impact analysis is still there. But how to apply that to create code? Definitely you can apply new technologies. Your test cases can be created with an AI agent. Testing can be created with an automation framework. But what need to be tested? How need to be tested? What are the uh, knowledge that you need to apply on that is up to you.
So that human in the loop will continue.
It will continue. Definitely it will continue. At the same time, your percentage of work to be done to achieve that is getting limited to the set of your thought process that you are injecting with the system. So that is how it, even for development also, it's actually changing in that way.
Thank you very much, Arun.